Welcome. Hello everyone, I'm here with the channel, and today is a very special day because Ukraine is about to do this. Russia will not survive it. But before we go into more details, please make sure to support us. All the information that we present here is free for everyone, but it takes a lot of time and effort. So if you can help us out, we would really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's get straight into the news. The United States has officially announced that they will be providing Ukraine with cluster munitions. Cluster munitions are banned by more than 60 countries, including all of the countries in the European Union. However, they have been used extensively in Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, and other wars. So why is the US sending them to Ukraine now? What does this mean for Russia? And how will the Ukrainian forces use these weapons? We will answer all of these questions and many more, so stay tuned. Before we go into more details, let's take a look at the global map. In the past 24 hours, the most intense fighting has been near Bakhmut. Here we go. So you can see that the Russian forces have gained some new positions near the city. But overall, the situation has remained relatively stable over the past few days. In the south, there was an attempted counteroffensive by the Ukrainian forces. They attacked Russian positions near Verbova. However, they were repelled. Again, the situation has remained relatively stable in this region over the past few days. On the other hand, in the last 24 hours, the Russian forces launched 75 combat engagements against Ukraine, including 49 attacks from the Russian territory, which means that they fired artillery shells from the Russian soil. These are most likely long-range missiles or rockets. Overall, the Russian forces have been trying to increase the intensity of their attacks over the past week or so. This could be due to the upcoming Ukrainian counteroffensive. As we know, the Russians always react to the Ukrainian actions with more of their own attacks. In this case, they are trying to increase the pressure on the Ukrainian forces and prevent them from launching any sort of successful counteroffensive. We will talk more about the Ukrainian counteroffensive in just a moment. For now, let's focus on cluster munitions. The US government has officially announced that they will be sending cluster munitions to Ukraine. This type of munition consists of a main explosive charge and several smaller explosive charges. When the munition is detonated, all of the smaller charges are released, and they spread across a wide area. This makes it very difficult for the enemy to defend against them, because they can attack from many different angles. Cluster munitions were first developed during World War II. They have been used in many wars since then, including the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Afghanistan War, and the Iraq War. The United States has used them in all of these wars. They have also been used by other countries such as Russia, China, and North Korea. Cluster munitions are banned by more than 60 countries, including all of the countries in the European Union. The United States is not one of them. In fact, they are one of the largest producers of cluster munitions in the world. Now let's talk about how the Ukrainians will use these weapons. The Ukrainian army has already received some cluster munitions from the US, and they have started using them against the Russian forces. It is still too early to say how effective they have been, but the Ukrainian military believes that they will be very helpful in their counteroffensive. The cluster bombs will be used to destroy Russian fortifications and trenches. They will also be used to attack Russian troops and vehicles. The Ukrainian military believes that the cluster bombs will give them an advantage in the upcoming counteroffensive. They are planning to use them in combination with other weapons such as tanks, artillery, and drones. The Ukrainian counteroffensive is something that we have been waiting for a long time. Many people believe that it will be the turning point of the war. The Ukrainian forces are planning to attack Russian positions and retake some of the lost territories. The exact date of the counteroffensive is unknown, but it is believed that it will happen in the near future. The Ukrainian forces are ready, and they are waiting for the green light from Kyiv. As soon as they receive it, they will launch their counteroffensive. The timing is very important. The Ukrainians want to attack when the Russians are not expecting it. They also want to take advantage of the weather conditions. Summer is the best time to launch a counteroffensive in Ukraine. The weather is good, and the ground is dry. This makes it easier to move troops and equipment around. The Ukrainian forces have been training for this counteroffensive for a long time. They have been practicing attacking enemy positions and retaking territory. They are confident that they can do it. The Ukrainian forces have been receiving weapons and ammunition from the West. They've also been getting a lot of intelligence from the Russian spies inside the country. All of this information is being used to plan the counteroffensive. The Ukrainian forces know what the Russians are doing and where they are, This gives them a big advantage. On the other hand, the Russians are not sitting idle. They are also preparing for the Ukrainian counteroffensive. They have built many defensive structures such as trenches and barbed wire fences. They have also placed a lot of mines around their positions. The Russians know that the Ukrainians are planning to attack, and they are trying to do everything they can to stop them. Both sides are heavily relying on their intelligence agencies to gather information about the enemy. The Ukrainians have a lot of spies inside the Russian-occupied territories. They are constantly gathering information about the Russian forces and their positions. The Ukrainians are also using satellites and drones to spy on the Russians. The Russians are doing the same thing. They have their own spies inside Ukraine. They are also using technology to gather information about the Ukrainian forces. As we have already mentioned, the Russians are reacting to the Ukrainian preparations for the counteroffensive by increasing the intensity of their attacks. They are shelling Ukrainian positions and trying to destroy as much equipment as possible. At the same time, they are trying to break through the Ukrainian lines and gain more territory. The Russians have thrown a lot of troops into the fight, but so far, they have not been able to achieve any major victories. The Ukrainians are defending their positions very well. On the contrary, the Ukrainian forces have recently destroyed a lot of Russian equipment, especially vehicles. The Russians are losing hundreds of armored vehicles and tanks every month. This is a clear sign that the Ukrainian defense is very strong. Some experts believe that the Ukrainian counteroffensive will be very bloody, the fighting will be very intense, and there will be a lot of casualties on both sides. However, most experts agree that the Ukrainians will be able to retake some of the lost territory. The question is how much territory they will be able to retake. Some experts believe that the Ukrainians will be able to retake the entire territory that was lost after the start of the Russian invasion in 2022. Others believe that the Ukrainians will only be able to retake some of it. Only time will tell how the counteroffensive will end. One thing is for sure, though, this will be a real test for both the Ukrainian and Russian forces. It will show how strong each army is, and what kind of losses they are able to sustain. If the Ukrainians are able to retake some of the lost territory, it will be a big morale boost for them. It will show that the Russian army is not invincible, and that the Ukrainians can win this war. On the other hand, if the Ukrainians fail to retake any territory, the Russians will be very happy about it. They will use it as propaganda and try to convince the world that the Ukrainian army is weak and that they cannot win this war. As we have mentioned before, the Ukrainian counteroffensive is something that the entire world is waiting for. It will be a major event in this war, and it could change the outcome of the conflict. The Ukrainian forces are well aware of this, and they are preparing for it in the best way possible. The Russian forces are also aware of the upcoming counteroffensive, and they are trying to do everything they can to stop it. Only time will tell who will be victorious. Russia will not survive the Ukrainian counteroffensive. This war has been going on for too long, and the Russian economy cannot handle it anymore. The sanctions imposed by the West are having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The war in Ukraine is extremely expensive, and Russia simply does not have the money to keep fighting. The Russian army is also exhausted. The soldiers have been fighting for months, and they need a break. The war in Ukraine has turned into a stalemate. Russia has not made any progress in the last 6 months, and it is unlikely that they will be able to do so in the future. The Ukrainian army is simply too strong. If Russia wants to survive, it needs to end this war as soon as possible. But the question is, how can they do that? They cannot defeat the Ukrainian army on the battlefield, so they have no choice but to negotiate. The only way for Russia to survive is to end this war and withdraw its troops from Ukraine. Anything else would be disastrous for the country. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up and support us. We would really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss any of our videos. We would like to thank you for your constant support, and we hope that you continue to support us in the future. Have a nice day.